அமெரிக்காவின் நம்பர் 1 தமிழ் தொலைக்காட்சியான தமிழ் அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சிக்கு ஆதரவளியுங்கள், சப்ஸ்கிரைப் செய்யுங்கள். தமிழர்களையும் தமிழ் இயக்கங்களையும் இணைக்கும் தமிழ் அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சிக்கு ஆதரவு தாருங்கள், சப்ஸ்கிரைப் செய்யுங்கள். அமெரிக்காவின் நம்பர் 1 தமிழ் தொலைக்காட்சியான தமிழ் அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சிக்கு ஆதரவளியுங்கள், சப்ஸ்கிரைப் செய்யுங்கள். தமிழர்களையும் தமிழ் நிறுவனங்களையும் இணைக்கும் தமிழ் அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சி நிறுவனத்திற்கு ஆதரவு அளியுங்கள், சப்ஸ்கிரைப் செய்யுங்கள்.
தமிழ் அமெரிக்க தொலைக்காட்சி நேயர்களுக்கு வணக்கம். நான் உங்கள் தமிழ் அமெரிக்க தொலைக்காட்சியின் நிகழ்ச்சி தயாரிப்பாளர் விஜய் நான்சி. உலக தமிழர்களையும் தமிழ் அமைப்புகளையும் இணைக்கும் உங்கள் தமிழ் அமெரிக்க தொலைக்காட்சியில் வாரந்தோறும் ஒரு புதிய நிகழ்ச்சியுடன் உங்களை சந்திக்க வருகிறேன். குறிஞ்சி, முல்லை, மருதம், நெய்தல், பாலை ஆகிய 5 திணைகளை கண்ட தமிழர்கள் தொழில் சார்ந்து புலம்பெயர்ந்து அமெரிக்கா உட்பட அந்நிய நாடுகளை 6ஆம் திணையாக்கி இருக்கிறார்கள். அந்த 6ஆம் திணையிலும் குழந்தைகளுக்கு தாய்மொழி கற்பிக்க பள்ளி திண்ணைகளை அமைத்து தமிழ் பயிற்றுவிக்கிறான். அந்த தமிழ் பள்ளிகளை, பள்ளி நிறுவனர்களை, அமைப்பாளர்களை உலகிற்கு காட்டும் புதிய நிகழ்ச்சி 6ஆம் திணையில் தமிழ் பள்ளி திண்ணைகள். தமிழ் பள்ளிகளை ஆதரிக்க, பள்ளி நிறுவனர்களை, ஆசிரியர்களை ஆதரிக்க வாரந்தோறும் இந்த நிகழ்ச்சியை உங்கள் தமிழ் அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சியில் காண தவறாதீர்கள். உலக தமிழர்களின் ஊடக தளமான தமிழ் அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சியை உங்கள் அமைப்புகளின் ஊடக பங்காளராக்குங்கள். தமிழ் அமெரிக்கா தொலைக்காட்சியை சப்ஸ்கிரைப் செய்து ஆதரியுங்கள். நன்றி, வணக்கம். நான் உங்கள் விஜய் நான்சி.
Webinar on stress management and mindfulness for students and teachers, organized by IQAC, Stella Matutina College of Education. It is the mark of our dying tradition to involve the Almighty at the beginning on important event. Like the great philosopher once said, the function of prayer is not to influence God, but rather to change the nature of the one who prays. Now let us listen to the prayer song to invoke God blessings.
Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, worship your holy name. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawn. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul, worship your holy name.
Welcome to those who believe in the power of dreams and who would like to join in exploration of life. We are made for goodness and small cheer and great welcome makes a merry feast. Welcome every day with a smile. Now, I call Sister Christina Mary, Assistant Professor of Education, to introduce the resource person of the day and welcome the gathering. Sister, please.
Thank you, Rubina. Good morning to everyone. On behalf of Stella Matutina College of Education, I take this opportunity to welcome and introduce Father Emmanuel Arockiam, a Jesuit priest, the resource person of this webinar, Stress Management and Mindfulness for Teachers and Students. At present scenario, most of the people are in stressful situation, especially teachers and students, because the teaching and learning environment is totally changed. So the teachers and students are forced to change according to the changing environment, which creates stress, tension, and anxiety. It is very unfortunate that when all other living beings are peacefully leading their life as usual, the sixth sense rational human being lost their peace of mind and struggling to overcome the situation. One of the solutions to come out of the situation is mindfulness or awareness. Father Emmanuel is a right person to deal this topic because he had vast experience in counseling psychology and conducted more programs both in India and abroad. He has completed both PhD and master's degree in counseling psychology at Marquette University, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, USA. At present, he is a director of Jesuit Center for Counseling, Department of Counseling Psychology, St. Joseph's College, Trichy, Tamil Nadu. He was a deputy director, Dean of Loyola Institute of Business Administration, Liba, Chennai, from 2011 to 2014, and counselor and head of the Department of Foundation course 4 years at St. Xavier's College, Palayam Kottai, Tamil Nadu. Father Emmanuel also conducted clinical practicum at Milwaukee Secure Detention Facility, Community Clinic, and Partners in Health Counseling Center at Milwaukee, USA. We have such an eminent personality among us to deal the topic stress management and mindfulness. Once again, I welcome you, Father Emmanuel. Wholeheartedly, I welcome Sister Pauline Mary, the Secretary, who is the supporting and guiding force of all the events of Stella Matutina College of Education. I also welcome the Principal, Dr. Joseph Catherine, for her meticulous planning and coordinating all the programs, especially the webinars conducted by various departments. I take this opportunity to welcome the Organizing Secretary, Mrs. Rubina, Assistant Professor in Psychology, Organizing Committee members, Dr. Josephine, Assistant Professor of Biology, Mrs. Sasikala, Assistant Professor of English, IQAC Coordinator, Dr. Alma Juliet, Associate Professor of Education, Dr. Irdia, IQAC Secretary. I also welcome Tamil American television members and viewers for their full support. I extend my warm welcome to the students and staff members of Stella Matutina College of Education, students and teachers.
Thank you, sister, for your warm welcome. The greatest weapon against stress is our ability to choose one thought over another, by William James. Now it's time to invite an outstanding speaker to deliver the talk on the topic, stress management and mindfulness for students and teachers. I invite Father Emmanuel Arockiam to take over the session. Father, please.
Hello, thank you very much, and good morning to everyone. At the outset, I want to thank everyone, especially Reverend Sister Pauline Mary, the Secretary of the College, and Dr. Mrs. Joseph Catherine, the Principal, Organizing Secretaries, Sister Christina Mary, and Mrs. J. Rubina, Thank you very much for organizing this relevant webinar. It's, relevant to this time of Corona pandemic and lockdown. So students and teachers, I'm going to be very simple. I will not use many technical words. So if you don't understand anything, at the end of the talk, you can ask me for clarifications. I will use a PowerPoint so that you can, go through the important points. Okay. Hope you can see.
Yes, Father. Yes, Father.
Okay, very good. Okay, I want to ask you a few questions. Who will have more stress, parents or children?
Both. Yeah.
What about students and teachers? Who will have more stress? Time or situation. Okay. Currently, administrators, doctors, nurses, cleaning workers at the Corona ward, will they have more stress than parents and children and students and teachers? It depends on your answer, but depends on the context, depends on the person, depends on your personality, you will have stress. Is stress necessary? Do you need stress? When do you feel stress? Yeah?
No.
At times we need,
We need
Okay.
not have any stress, Father.
You need not have any stress. But is it, okay, we'll come back to it. Is it a symptom or an outcome? Suppose you have a headache. Is it a symptom of something else or a result of something else?
It's a symptom.
Outcome.
It can also be the outcome. Let us say I am worried about something. Worry is my symptom. And I am worried about something. And I get a headache. So my headache can be both symptom and an outcome of stress. Okay? Is it internal or external?
Both.
Both, yes. We create in our mind stress. Others also can give us stress. What about this webinar? Is it stressful? Attending a webinar can be stressful to many people. You have to, keep the data on, keep the mobile or laptop on. Okay, you may be worried about the data, you may be worried about the electricity, you may be worried about sitting through for 1.5 hours. That could be stressful. So internal, quite a lot of things happen in our mind, in our body. Externally also, temperature, even pandemic can be stressful. Is it avoidable or unavoidable? What would you say? Anyone?
You could avoid.
Both.
It will be useful to avoid, it will be good to avoid, but sometimes certain stress is unavoidable. That we should know. We are, trying to avoid a lot of stress, but sometimes it is unavoidable. Is it controllable? Yes, when we talk about avoidableness, we also talk about whether we can control. whether we can control completely or to some extent, to what extent should we control, or can we manage stress? That is why we call it stress management. So we should be able to manage stress, provided we know how we get stress and so on. There are two kinds of stresses. One is good stress, that is eustress, which is positive. Another one is bad stress, which is distress, which is negative. Okay. So we talk about good stress and bad stress, eustress and distress. Something is good, something is negative. Okay. Here I have a picture of a foam mattress. Okay. Why do I have this picture? Life exists through the maintenance of a complex dynamic equilibrium that is constantly challenged by internal or external adverse forces termed stresses, which can be emotional or physical in nature. What is the equilibrium or homeostasis? When you press the mattress down, it will remain pressed, depressed. But after some time, when you take off the hand, it will come back to its original form. There is a bucket of water. If you take some amount of water outside, there will be a disturbance, but the water level come to a standstill, and it is, it reaches equilibrium or homeostasis. Okay, so life also should have homeostasis. Our mind should have homeostasis. Emotionally, we should experience homeostasis. All of us have problems, but we cannot be affected by one problem which happened many years ago. On the way, I meet with something, but when I go to my office, I should have my presence of mind. I should be okay to manage my business. That is called homeostasis. We cannot dwell on stresses or stress for a long time. Well, so what is stress? Let us define. We have a number of definitions. We will see only a few. Stress is an internal process that occurs when a person is faced with a demand that is perceived to exceed the resources available to effectively respond to it, and where failure to effectively deal with the demand has important undesirable consequences. There is an awareness of a substantial imbalance between demand and capability, under conditions where failure to meet the demand is perceived to have unwanted consequences. We all have heard about Corona. We have heard so much information about Corona. They were talking about our immunity. When your immunity is down, you are affected easily by Corona. When you have a cold, when you have cough, you are susceptible to be affected by some sickness, including Corona. Why? The demand is more than our capability. Whenever the demand is more, whenever the supply is less, there is a problem. Even in the business world, suppose there is a demand for more Covaxin or Covishield, okay, but it is not available, then there is a problem. In the same way, the situation outside or within has a lot of demands. Our stress creates a lot of demand, but does our body, does our mind, or do all the resources, manage the whole demand? That is the, thought that we should have in this particular talk. A few more definitions: the results of any demand on the body using objective indicators such as bodily and chemical changes that appear after any demand. In the body, when there is a demand, either intra or extra and external, a lot of things happen in the body, bodily and chemical changes. So stress refers to a condition and stressor to the internal reaction causing stress. normally typical definitions, occasions for sympathetic nervous system arousal, as well as the noxious nature of the stress stimulus and the resultant attempts to remove it. So there is a demand, there is a supply. So if the capability is less, then there is stress. Okay. I will show you a video very quickly. Can you see the video?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
There was an experiment in a college, in a university. This is, dynamic equilibrium. The video, 4 people are seated and they are asked to lie down on another's lap while they are seated on chairs. But we normally think, the chair is removed, the people will fall down. But they were able to manage the balance. This is called dynamic balance, which is required for all of us because there are demands which are greater than our normal capability, but still we can manage with our resources. Why some people feel more stressed out and some people don't care? Some people are not affected. What are the reasons? We have something called perception. All of us know we perceive ourselves, others, and the world. We also perceive, we have some idea of God. So 4 things are important in perception. How do you perceive self? How do you perceive others? Suppose I perceive myself as not capable, then I will have stress. There is a danger, somebody is coming to attack me, and I perceive as incapable of attacking him or to defend myself, then I will have stress. How do I perceive others? How do I perceive the world? Is the world safe? Is it protective of me or will it harm me? Including corona pandemic, will I be affected? And what is my image of God? Okay. So we all have different perceptions. No 2 people perceive in the same way. Why? Because of our background, because of our thinking, because of our feelings, because of the context. There are so many things, hundreds of things that affect our perception. The way we learn to perceive as children, even when we were in our mother's womb, whether we were affected by some feelings of our mothers, whether anything happened when we were born or after our birth, or as we grow up, what happened? All these will influence our perception today. Whether something is neutral or negative or positive. So depending on my perception, I will act. Am I having the belief that I am capable of achieving something, even if it is an assignment in the B.Ed college, or you think you are capable of teaching a particular class, then you have self-efficacy. Self-efficacy to deal with a problem, with a risk, with a situation, all these will be under self-efficacy. Locus of control. Do I have the control? Am I capable of managing? If I think that I have the control, it is intrinsic locus of control. Suppose I think I have no control, only others are controlling me. For example, it is fate. It is fate that he suffered, or it is God's providence. Then we say it is extrinsic locus of control. So if I have intrinsic locus of control, I will have better stress management. Different threshold levels of resistance to stressor. So each of us, learns that we can manage stress. But as I told you, there are differences. Some people are able to tolerate more, some people no. When I go to teach in some classes where there is air condition and running, some people say, Father, please switch off the AC. Some people say, no, don't switch off, I like it. So some people are able to manage, some people are not able to manage. So different threshold levels. Store of energy. Do you have enough energy? How much have you stored? Use different stress coping strategies. So what are the coping strategies you have? Are they effective or are they ineffective? All these will matter. Okay. For example, why there are differences? There are, somebody came up with a theory. It's not a very scientific theory, but we understand. Type A, type B behavior. A cardiologist was observing many of his patients who were, well-to-do, highly placed. They were all achievers. They did something while they were waiting in his hospital. When he's meeting other patients, what do these people do outside in the waiting room? They talk rapidly, devoted to work. They are all known to be, very faithful in their work, highly competitive. They struggle to perform several tasks, has a strong sense of time, urgency, is impatient with idleness. They don't want to waste time, loses temper easily, interrupts others. Type B, just the opposite. They handle details patiently, less competitive with others, contemplates issues carefully, has a low concern about time limitations, doesn't feel guilty about relaxing, has a relaxed approach to life, works at a steady pace. Okay, even though this theory is not very highly scientific, we understand that there are different kinds of people. Some want to achieve, some people don't care. Okay. Once I went to the university, one of the university, I won't name which university, to teach. So after a few days, when I got down from the car, I heard two people talking to each other. One was advising another person. What was he saying? Don't worry, man. Don't worry. So because I was interested in what they were talking, I called both of them. What are you talking? Why is he worried? Why are you advising him not to worry? Sir, yes, failed in 3 subjects, but he is terribly upset, sad, and he doesn't want to eat, doesn't want to go home. Please advise him, sir. I said, if you can advise him not to worry after 3 failures, how many failures do you have? Sir, I have failed in 5 subjects. I am not going to worry. Okay? A person who has failed in 5 subjects can advise another person who has failed only in 3 to relax, not to take it very seriously. So there are different kinds of people. What are the stresses and stress outcomes? Work stresses we have, family stresses, we have so many. Even in the work stresses, physical environment, role-related, interpersonal, organizational, okay? Also non-work stresses for the same people, and that creates stress. And consequences of stress, it could be physiological, behavioral, psychological. It doesn't stop with one of them. It can affect all parts of us, okay? All kinds. So what makes the difference is the individual difference. Stresses, who is responsible for our stress? Is it nature, nurture, or environment? Are we born with it? Is it genes, DNA? Okay. Or is it what we learn when we grow up, nurture, what we were taught as children? Or is it the environment? What causes, what is responsible for our stress? Is it the past, present, or future? You know, I met somebody who has 10 years for his retirement. And he is now worried about his retirement, what I will do, and so on. He is worried about the future. Some people are worried about the past. My father did this to me. I did not study very well in those days. Or they are worried about the present. You know, it is boring to be at home for a long time. No classes. I'm not able to meet my friends or relatives. Okay, future. What will happen? So stresses could be, and the result could be physiological, psychological, or environmental. So physiological stress, physiological symptoms of pain, tension, sickness. Psychological could be thoughts. You know, I told you perceptions, attitudes, attributions. All these could be feelings, fear, sadness, worry, anxiety, anger, loneliness, depression. Or it could be psychosomatic, both body and mind. Okay. Stresses could be physiological, psychological. So if you are interested in health and well-being, okay, you know, you have another subtitle called Mindfulness. You need to be concerned about your physiological, psychological health and well-being. So diet, exercise, relationships, environment, and so on and so forth. Role-related stresses. So it could be because of the role that you have, inter-role, intra-role, person role. Role ambiguity, if you don't know what you are supposed to do, then you'll have stress. Or your authority is, you know, very harsh towards you. The workload is too much. If you are not able to control your task, then you will have all these stresses. What to look for, you know, in stress management, I will advise you, you know, first understand the symptoms. What are the symptoms, you know, people have or you have? It could be physiological, it could be psychological, affective, could be cognitive, it could be social, in your relationship, you create problems, or it could be spiritual. We will see a little more detail later. Also, you have to look at the level of distress you have. How much are you suffering because of this stress? I told you, because of individual differences, some people don't have so much stress. Some people are stressed out quite a lot. So level of distress. Duration. Suppose you have some stress, some trauma, some, you know, something bad happens. How long are you suffering? Duration. Then frequency. How long? How many times are you suffering? What about functionality? Are you able to, you know, function as in the normal way, as a normal person? Suppose you are a parent, you are a teacher, you have, you know, your children, you have your partners. We have many roles. Okay. Are you able to function well in all these roles? Well, effectively and efficiently. So we need to look for what are the stresses? What causes me stress? And what are the effects of stress in me? I also need to understand what is the process that goes through in me. Another person may have different stresses, different effects, different process. I also need to understand what are the techniques to reduce stress will be effective for me. Okay. So general adaptation syndrome. Stage 1, alarm reaction. You know, you suddenly get a shock or you are affected. So you are alarmed. Then stage 2, you have resistance. You know, you try something, and if you succeed, it is okay. If you don't succeed, then there is a problem. Then once, you know, you successfully complete the action, then you are tired, exhaustion. What happens to the brain? There are many things, you know, I don't want to take a lot of time explaining about the brain. whenever there is stress, whenever there is a perception of stress, something happens to our brain and the body. Okay. Hypothalamus is very important part of the brain, a small little thing in the brain that goes into a frenzy. It creates many things. Transmitters are produced. Okay. So many things happen. Adrenal gland, just above our kidneys, that goes into another frenzy. It produces a few hormones. Okay. Adrenaline, cortisol, so it affects sympathetic nervous system or peripheral nervous system. So whenever there is a danger, whenever there is stress, whenever we perceive stress, something happens to our brain, something happens to our body. If you are stressed out for a long time, there is a risk of affected by disease. Psychoneuroimmunologists have the assumption that the link is established through the following steps. The individuals in question have been stressed, causing them to turn on the stress response, the secretion of glucocorticoids, epinephrine, and so on. The duration and magnitude of the stress response in these individuals is big enough to suppress immune function, which increases the odds of those individuals getting some infectious disease and impairs their ability to defend themselves against that disease once they have it. Okay? So this is the risk we have. What is the process? When a potential stressor is perceived as threatening, the person's level of arousal is increased and stress is experienced. The person selects from the available resources a coping response that is expected to be effective. If stress is successfully reduced, your stress comes down, then you have increased confidence. But if the coping response is not successful, stress and increased arousal continue. If new strategies are not tried or are unsuccessful, the prolonged stress and increased arousal result in strain, more strain. Okay. I will run through a few symptoms of stress. I'm not going to spend much time, but I will run through. Physiological and behavioral: increased heart rate, rise in blood pressure, dryness of mouth, throat, sweating, tightness of chest, headache, nausea, vomiting, indigestion, diarrhea. I think it is stress. Okay, so many things happen. Trembling, twitching, grinding of teeth, insomnia, anorexia, fatigue, fatigue syndrome, slumped posture, pain, tightness in neck and back muscles, urinary frequency, missed menstrual cycle, reduced interest in sex. Hyperventilation, that means, breathing in too much. Accidents, accident proneness, altered food intake, poor concentration, disinterest in activities, decreased involvement with others, bickering. Smoking, use of alcohol and drugs, increased use of sarcasm, tendency to cry easily, nightmares, complaining, criticizing. Okay. Affective, cognitive symptoms: irritability, depression, angry outbursts, emotional instability, withdrawal, restlessness, anxiety, suspiciousness, jealousy, increased startled reaction, decreased frustration tolerance. Forgetfulness, poor judgment, poor concentration, reduced creativity, less fantasizing, errors in math and grammar, preoccupation, inattention to details, blocking, reduced productivity, diminished problem solving. Even spiritually, you have some symptoms. Expressed concerns about belief system. All your beliefs are, dashed. Okay? You are not able to believe in the same beliefs you had earlier. Expressed concerns about relationship, separation from cultural and religious relationships, lack of meaning in life. So in stress, body, mind, behavior, emotions, all are affected. Okay, this is only to repeat what I told you. Okay. What are the sources of stress? I told you we have internal and external. Intrinsic locus of control and external, extrinsic locus of control. So what are the sources? If you have low energy, you are going to create stress. Sickness, poor diet, lack of sleep, fatigue, pain. So what we saw as symptoms, they also can become sources of stress. So whatever symptoms we saw, I will repeat, they can also be sources of another stress. Life situation, any situation can create stress. How many people, experience stress in the morning while waking up? Okay, anybody answering? How many people had stress when you woke up? Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, sometimes it depends on some incident happens or you're
Okay.
near and
It could even be a dream. It could be that you did not sleep properly, or you feel sleepy when the alarm goes, or when your mother wakes you up. It could be anything. Starting from early morning until you go to sleep, even while sleeping, you may experience stress because some people are stressed out that they are not able to sleep. Some people sleep too long. Okay. Anything can cause stress in life. Major life events, divorce, death, midlife crisis, financial worries, persistent strain of caring for a chronically sick child, nagging health problems, or managing a physically or mentally challenged family member. Will they create stress? Anybody answering?
Yes, positive stress are there. Positive
Yes.
stress.
No, even good things, positive happenings can create stress for people. For example, they are waiting for a baby to be born. That is stressful. Even though they are happy, they experience physical, psychological stress. They have to prepare for the baby. After the birth, mother goes through a lot of stress, feeding the baby, looking after, it's whenever it is crying, you have to, do something. Whenever it goes for number one, number two, you have to clean up. All stressful. Seeing the child growing up is a happy thing. But how many parents get stressed out? 2 days ago, my old student in Liba called me. She's married and she has a kid, 1 year old. They celebrated her birthday only recently. So this old student called me, "Father, I go through a lot of stress, Father. Am I a good parent, Father?" I said, "I don't know. Tell me." She explained she is doing so much for the child, and she is not able to understand whether the child will grow up as a very happy, healthy, and intelligent child. She is stressed out, even though she has many reasons to be happy. So anything can cause stress. That is, we should understand very well. Psychologically, frustration, conflict, pressure, negative attitude, faulty temperament, okay? So many things psychologically. Your own thoughts can create stress. Yeah, okay. Spiritual and sociological levels, lack of meaning, purpose of joy, wrong images of God. You are afraid of God, that God will punish you. Threat to identity, shame and guilt, lack of love, work, esteem, helplessness, hopelessness. Okay. So when people lose hope, is it psychological or spiritual? It is both. Okay. Many people lose hope and they give up. They even commit suicide. Okay. So all these can be connected with spiritual and also psychological. What are the sources of stress? Stress affecting a group of people together. Famine, drought, storms, fires, earthquakes, now pandemic. It could be, collectively we are all afraid, we have stress. if someone is sneezing in the group, in the classroom, we get stressed. If someone is not wearing a mask, you get stressed out. Okay? Other things, personality, your own personality. There are people who are depressed personality disorder they have. Some people are depressed, from childhood until they die. Some people are obsessed with many things forever. Okay. Some people have delusions, hallucinations. Also, what about their personality problems? Attachment style. Some people are afraid that my parents will not look after me. If they die, what will I do? So they don't have good, secure attachment. Lack of trust, unreasonable wants and needs, faulty reasoning, lack of ethics, negative rules, okay, and defective mental map. Okay, all these can be sources of stress. Environment, lockdown. Initially, when people had to attend class, regularly offline, they were stressed out. Then initially, when there was lockdown, when people said you need not come to class, students were happy. Okay, after some time, they were feeling lonely, bored. They were saying, it's not easy to watch online the whole class. I'm not able to sit through. I cannot turn off the video or audio. Then the teacher calls me. Okay, a lot of problems. Environment. Because of environment, we have many sources of stress. Lack of social support. Nobody is there to look after me. I have no friends. I have no relatives. Okay, quite a few people in Tamil Nadu. More than 165 people have become orphans because both the parents have died. Is it not a source of stress? Okay. Now a very important thing. Why we feel stressed out? Why are we, affected by stress? In the olden days, according to evolution, when we were living in the forest or when wild animals were around, we knew what the enemy was. What should we do? We wanted to protect ourselves, our forefathers. So they learned some techniques to manage their situation. So flight or fight. I need to fight against the animal that comes to attack me, or I have to run away and save myself. Okay? But sometimes there are people who are not able to fight or flee. They may even freeze. Complexity of present life. Even though evolution-wise, we have learned certain techniques, those techniques are obsolete. They are not effective. They are not highly useful now. Our demands, roles, pace of life, unavoidable transitions, such as all these things, okay, they cause different kinds of stress and they require different strategies to manage. Situations that create stress are as unique as you are. Your personality, genes, experiences influence how you deal with stresses. Mental and emotional disposition built over the years decides whether to accept these situations with a fighting or fleeing spirit. Accordingly, you may either be under harmful influences or stressors or be out of it. 2 years ago, somebody came to my office for a counseling. Okay. I was meeting another patient, in the counseling room. I asked him to sit down on a chair outside in the waiting room. He sat down for some time. When 2 other people came into the waiting room, because their turn was after this man, he immediately got up from his chair and he went out. So when I finished with the one patient counseling, I came out to look for him. He was not there in the waiting room. So I asked those 2 people, was there one person here seated? They said yes, but when we came in, he went out. So I went in search of him. He was outside the campus. I didn't want to miss the appointment. So I called him. He did not pick up the phone. I went, looked outside the campus. He was standing there. I asked him, why did you come out? I cannot sit with other people. Why? They may harm me. No, why do you think they will harm you? No, you don't know my situation. They can attack me. So when he came into the counseling, with great difficulty, because those two people were sitting outside in the waiting room and one patient was leaving, this man came in and told me that he always carries a knife. Why do you carry a knife? To protect myself, because I'm always in danger. That is his situation. So fight, he is taking up fight, but he is also using the flight. He ran away from the waiting room, but sometimes he can also freeze. But are strategies effective? We'll see later. So physical reactions you experience when you are stressed or no accident. You are built in, hardwired to react in a particular way. The human body developed these defense mechanisms to deal with the threat of predators and aggressors, but they are not very effective right now in the modern life. For example, if you know that there is a snake in your house, either you will run away or you will try to kill the snake. If you freeze, you are affected by the snake. Okay? So when there is a snake, you know what to do. But when there is a boss in your office who is negative, obnoxious, who makes you feel very bad about yourself, who criticizes you all the time, you cannot, quit the job because you may not get another job. You may not attack him, you may not kill him as you do with a snake. You cannot say, I'm not going to work because you are very critical of me, I'm not going to work. Can you say that? No. So these three things may not be very effective in the modern day life and work. And suppose you get stressed out one time a day, and it's only for a short while, maybe 2 minutes, your body, your mind will reach homeostasis. That means the equilibrium will be maintained. But suppose you get stressed out because the boss calls you a number of times to his office, asks you, where is that file? What did you do? Did you finish the assignment? And you don't like the boss, but you cannot run away from him because you need the job, or you cannot attack him and get another boss. No. Okay. You cannot also remain without doing any work. Okay. So what do? When these things are ineffective, you activate stress. That stress affects you. What does it do? As I told you earlier in the brain picture, it produces, your body and mind produce a few hormones. Okay. One is adrenaline, another one is cortisol. Both are necessary for fighting, fleeing. Okay. So you use these hormones, your body and mind, everything is ready to fight against the danger. Then when these hormones are produced, you get more and more energy. You can do, you can achieve, you can succeed, you can complete the act. But in the modern day world, why do we have a lot of stress? Automatically, our body and mind, when we don't like something, when we find there is a danger, when the boss is coming in, okay, our body produces certain hormones as usual. Adrenaline, cortisol, or epinephrine. Are they used properly for fighting, fleeing? No, because you cannot run away, you cannot fight. So when these hormones are produced again and again, a number of times during the day, then these hormones will affect your body and mind, because these hormones are very powerful. They help you, but if they are not used, they will affect your body. Okay. This is like saying all dressed up, but nowhere to go. Okay. You are dressed up for a dinner, but you cannot go and have a dinner. Okay. So your body and mind are ready to fight or to run away, to do something great, which require a lot of energy, but you have no work, you have nobody to fight. Okay, then it affects your body and mind again. Sometimes we don't know what is stress. We are not able to recognize. Not only recognize, managing stress also is problematic. Sometimes we don't know what is eustress and what is distress. So I met somebody in counseling who was playing computer games for 7 hours a day. His parents called me and then said, we have taken his computer away. We told him, warned him not to use computer, but we hear he is using a lot of time on the computer games. He came to my office and told me, yeah, I use 7 hours minimum, but I'm not affected by stress. Why? I like it. But you are not doing other things well. You are not studying properly. Your parents are worried. You have no friends. You are not eating properly because you want to win a game. So what started as eustress, he enjoyed playing computer games, now becomes distress. There are people who play for a long time, basketball or football or volleyball, and they are affected after some time because their body is affected. So do we manage stress very well? Or does stress manage or overpower us? So we should be able to manage stress and not the other way around. What are our coping mechanisms? Okay. What do we do when you have stress? If I ask you, tell me. What do you do when you have
music.
listen to music? Okay. Any other techniques you do?
Go for a walk or read a book. Take a
Okay,
walk.
go for a walk, read a book.
Or some exercises.
Okay.
Gardening.
Playing with the kids.
Okay.
In general, we can divert ourselves, our attention to some other activity. We can talk to the neighbor or the friends or relative. That also one of the
very good things. So those also very good strategies. Okay. There are many hundreds of strategies for managing stress. But what are your sources of stress management? What are the techniques you have? Sometimes, if you listen to music, it might help you at a particular time. But another day, even after listening to music, your stress level will be high. Okay. So what do you do that day? Some people will say, I go to the church or the temple and pray. But even in the temple, there are people who have stress. In the church, some people develop stress. Or after praying, they continue with the stress. If all the stress level comes down to the normal, okay, then it is okay. But if it doesn't come down to the normal acceptable level, if it is always high, if you don't know how to reduce the stress, you have to have more techniques or strategies to manage your stress. So what we can do, we can learn from other people. We can learn from other people. What do you do when you have stress? Tell me. Can I pick up another strategy, another technique? So all of us have stress, but depending on my personality, maybe I am affected more than somebody else. Okay, somebody may not have so much stress as I do, but I need to come up with a repertoire. That means a storage of many techniques, many strategies. I must have all of them at hand. If one doesn't work, I should have another. I should have another strategy which I can try. Okay. So effects, I cannot say enough, because we have so many effects. It shrinks your brain. It throws off your gut bacteria. Real good bacteria will be killed. It triggers inflammation throughout your body. It lowers your sperm count. It makes you want junk food. A chronic stress may accelerate hippocampal deterioration, leading to accelerated physical and brain aging. All these are negative. So many things, psychiatric disorders can take place because of stress. Okay. OCD, mood disorders, personality disorders, ADD or ADHD, psychological disorders can also cause other distress, depression, panic, trauma, post-traumatic stress, extra stress stored in mind and body, resulting in various illnesses. Also, if you have a lot of stress for a long time, if you do monotonous work, if you're not happy about things in life, you may go through burnout. Teachers can go through burnout. Okay? Married people can go through burnout. What? Same job, same food, same situation. So ultimately, it can lead to helplessness, hopelessness, and people give up, and they can also commit suicide. All these can be connected with stress, not only health problems, but also, maybe people do something to harm themselves. So this is in work, environmental system, coping resources and processes, environmental system, life stresses, personal system, demographic and personal factors, life crises and transitions, event-related factors, cognitive, how do you perceive, how do you make an appraisal, what are your coping responses? Depending on that, you will have health and well-being. In the job, whether it is teaching or any other job that you take up, intrinsic to the job, okay, a number of things will affect. Role, what is your role in organization? Career development, is there improvement in your salary or no increment, nothing? You cannot go higher. Relationship at work, are you afraid of your people around you? Organization structure and climate, all these can cause stress. It affects the individual, it affects the home work interface sources of stress. Okay. Level of neuroticism, tolerance of ambiguity, type A behavior. Family problems, dual career, marriages, life crises. Individual symptoms, organizational symptoms. If many people have stress in a workplace, organization suffers, a school or college suffers. Hello?
Yes, Father, you are audible.
Okay. I thought the electricity went off. So it can also lead to mental ill health, and in the company prolonged strikes, frequent and severe accidents, chronically poor performance. Okay. Work or non-work stresses, time-based conflict, strain-based conflict, role behavior conflict. I will skip this. Stress management practices, we are coming to the second part, mindfulness. In my opinion, mindfulness is only one of the many techniques we have. Okay. As somebody already mentioned, diversion, okay, can be one technique. Withdrawing from the stressor. Permanent is, if your job is creating problem, quit the job. But is it okay? Is it possible? Temporary work breaks, vacations. Changing stress perceptions, self-efficacy, self-leadership. Okay. Controlling stress consequences. Okay. All those are very important. Okay. Social support. I'm trying to see 1 minute. Can you hold on? Okay. What is possible? I told you that you cannot become stress-free completely, but we can become stress-fit. That means we can manage, reduce, and control stress. I'm looking for a hotspot. 1 minute. Okay. So we need to understand our strengths, weaknesses, and so on and so forth. Okay. And the weaknesses, strengths, your personal strength, your support network, the resources you can draw on. Weakness is your personal weakness, areas where you are aware that you are not strong. Lack of resources, bad situation. Okay. All these are strengths and weaknesses. Opportunities and threats. You might have heard about this SWOT analysis, strengths, weakness, and opportunities and threats. You go through all those. Can you hear me? I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Father.
Okay. So basically, when we talk about stress management, it is not managing stress after you have experienced stress. That is post-event stress management. That may not be very effective all the time, because sometimes you are already affected when we go through stress. Even though you are trying to manage your stress after an event, you are already affected by stress in some way. So what is better? Prevention, preparedness in daily life. So we must be ready to meet any kind of stress. It is part of emotional intelligence also. So I think you have heard about emotional intelligence, in which there are 5 things. 1, understand, okay, recognize, understand, and name your emotions or feelings. Then manage your emotions effectively, intelligently. Then you also need motivation to do things. Motivation to eat, motivation to play, motivation to achieve something. So you need motivation for anything in life. Then you also need to recognize others' emotions, understand them by having empathy. Then you also need to manage others' emotions through relationship. So that is emotional intelligence. So our focus of approach could be emotion-focused approach in stress management. Suppose you have anger. How do you manage your anger? I want to reduce my anger. You can understand why you are developing anger, what are the triggers, and how it affects your body and mind, and what happens to your relationships, whether you break things and so on. Okay, so you manage. Problem-focused approach, you look at the problem and then deal with the problem. So there are 2 kinds of approaches. Coping, adaptive or maladaptive, cognitive approach or avoidance. You can think about it and solve in your mind, or you can avoid thinking about it. In the same way, behavioral approach, avoidance. Okay? So, how to approach a particular issue that creates stress or how to avoid. All these could be part of your managing stress. So once again, not only to repeat what I have told you, but also as techniques to manage your stress. We have to think of demand, awareness, arousal, capability, and the negative consequences. So what to do? Identify and lessen the demands or increase capability by setting limits, by saying no, and so on and so forth. Awareness, perception, or the cognitive component is likely the most important aspect. Okay? What to do for self-awareness is very important. Okay? Yeah. A number of things we need to understand for self-awareness. What are your beliefs about self, others, world, and God? What are your emotions? Your own emotions, others' emotions. What are the hot buttons? That means, what create problems, driver factors. Fears and anxieties, emotions, judgments, self-confidence, driver behavior, okay? And the rules. If you have these kind of rules, I must, I should, I ought to, then you may have problems. So you become aware of all these. Then what are your non-verbal behaviors? Energy levels, impact on others, physical presence, your skills, personal style. All these are important for self-awareness. So after becoming aware, of yourself and others, reduce the arousal and tension, okay, by various techniques that we thought of. Eliminate or lessen the effect of the negative consequences. So by preparing for them, changing the circumstance, or after failing, instead of committing suicide, instead of going into depression, okay, let me not worry about it now. I will prepare for the next semester. So eliminate or lessen the effect of negative consequences. Become aware of your stresses. What causes you stress? Emotional and physical reactions. So what are the triggers for your stress? Recognize the intensity and kind of stress, the stresses, your reactions, your interpretation of the stresses and your reactions. Recognize what you can change or manage. If you cannot change, should you worry unnecessarily? All these we have talked about. Reduce the intensity of your emotional reactions to stress. I'll run through because of lack of time. Learn to moderate your physical reactions to stress. For a month, I was guiding one person who had a serious problem. When two people fight verbally, this lady, realizes that her body is shivering. If she is taking a glass of water to drink, she spills water, she drops the glass. Or she wants to run away, and others are wondering why you are running away. They are only arguing with each other. They are not fighting. Why do you run away? No, I cannot tolerate. Okay. So what are your reactions to stress? Learn to moderate your physical reactions to stress. Deep breathing, relaxation techniques, medications, are they needed? Sense of humor. I will run through a few more. Build your physical reserves. Strengthen your body and mind. Exercise, diet, and so on. Maintain your emotional reserves. If you're happy now, if people are praising you, appreciating you, store them in your mind. That is, in the emotional bank account. So that when there is problem, when there is stress, you can manage. Meaningful, fulfilling relationships. Meaningful work and goals in life. Deepen your spirituality. Okay. All these are important. I have no time now. Okay. Some of the evidence-based stress management techniques. Progressive muscle relaxation technique. Gradually increase the tension in your body, and then for 10 minutes you tense your body, and then afterwards relax. Autogenic training. relaxation response. Once again, all these are connected with some trained professionals will give you training. You can learn it, and afterwards you can do on your own. Biofeedback, how it affects your body. Guided imagery. Guided imagery is, it's a good technique. You sit comfortably in a relaxed posture. You imagine something positive that is happening to you. You are maybe in a nice place where there is no disturbance, no tension, no stress, no assignment, no corona, where you are comfortable. And then imagine yourself, with some techniques. It may be written form or your audio. You close your eyes, you listen to it. You can, have imagery of yourself. This will relax your body and mind. This will give you more strength and so on. Breathing exercises. Yoga, basic yoga teaches about, breathing exercises, what to do. Good breathing, lot of oxygen. Only now we understand because of corona, people have, problems with breathing. Oxygen is lacking. Oxygen concentrators are not available. Union government is not providing enough oxygen cylinders. Okay. Then people realize, how important it is to breathe well. So diaphragmatic breathing, all of you can practice even now. If you can breathe in, inhale for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, you breathe in, then keep the air inside for 2 seconds. 1, 2, then exhale for 5 seconds. Breathe out for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and remain without doing anything for another 2 seconds. And repeat the process. Okay? And there are various exercises. Recently, I attended one yoga class for 10 days, only about breathing, nothing else. Different kinds of breathing exercises. Okay? This will help you to relax your body and mind. Whatever may be the stress, it will, you will help your body to reduce your anger, to be more peaceful with yourself, with others, with the world. Okay? You can even, people say, live longer if you know how to breathe. Breathing is the only thing we do 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. But that is the only thing we don't do properly because we are worried about many things. We are distracted. We are not focusing on the breathing. So diaphragmatic breathing is very, very important. Transcendental meditation is another evidence-based technique. Our own Indian person came up with this. It has spread abroad. Okay? Use a mantra and then concentrate on your breathing. Become aware of things and so on. Cognitive behavior therapy, I will focus a little on that, there is time. And mindfulness-based stress reduction, become aware of things within, without. Be still. Focus on your breathing. Don't think of anything. Simply become aware. Okay, don't judge. Don't decide anything. Don't become very emotional. Peacefully listen to things, noises. Become aware of the sensations on your body. Okay, so research has proved all these techniques are very, very useful. Even though your subtitle is mindfulness, I'm telling you, all these can be included in mindfulness. They can help you with many, many good side effects. Okay, a little focus on cognitive behavior therapy. I told you, I already mentioned, thoughts, feelings, and behavior are interconnected. You are all educated people. Either you are studying B.Ed or you are teaching in some other place or you are involved in other works. All of us can easily understand. Very simple. Thoughts, feelings, and behavior are interconnected. Okay. You have a thought, and that thought will create some feeling. and both can create a behavior. Okay, so behavior sometimes, maybe you cannot manage, or feelings you cannot manage. But if you can change your thoughts, you can easily change your behavior. Rational emotive behavior therapy, very useful. Once again, very simple. Activating events, triggers for stress, needs, expectations, attributions, etc. And there is something called mediating belief and consequences. Okay. For example, in a counseling session, a couple had come, husband and wife. Wife was telling me that the husband is creating a problem because he is drinking, smoking, and he is bringing others to drink at home. And the wife did not like it. And the wife said, don't bring anybody, don't drink, please don't smoke. You are spoiling your health or wasting money. Then I asked, the husband, tell me your side of the story. Why do you drink? Why do you smoke? He showed me what was the cause or who was the cause. He showed, pointed his finger, okay, not even the indicating finger, he used the thumb and then said, my wife is the problem. He did not even mention wife was the problem. He indicated wife was the problem. Is the wife the problem? He thinks wife is activating his stress. So consequence, he is smoking and drinking. But wife is not creating his drinking and smoking. His mediating belief, between the activating event and the consequence, there are some beliefs. Very often we have irrational beliefs. Those beliefs create consequence, which could be also stress. So what do we do to manage our stress? Dispute the beliefs, whether I have right beliefs or irrational beliefs. If they are irrational, change those irrational beliefs into rational beliefs, then you will manage very well. For example, there are people who want to, want somebody to love them. And they are expecting that the person would love this person, doesn't happen, and they commit suicide. I want to get the first rank. I don't get the first rank, so I go into depression. It is not, getting the first rank or not getting the first rank, or somebody loving me or no, that is causing the problem. In between, I have some mediating belief, which can be irrational. If I expect more than 250 people to listen to me this 1.5 hours, is it rational belief or irrational belief? That is my wish. That is my desire. I want people to listen to me and profit. But if I expect everyone to listen to me all the 1 hour and 30 minutes, that will be irrational belief, because if somebody doesn't listen to me, I will go into depression. If I fall in love with somebody and expect that person to love me, that may be my wish, my desire. I want that person to love me. But if it doesn't happen, okay, I should not feel depressed. Consequence is negative. If the consequences are negative, then check whether dispute your irrational beliefs and turn them into rational beliefs. Do not entertain negative thoughts processing for long. Thoughts for the final decision is positive. Negative processing can leave its vestiges of stress in mind and body. Okay? Once again, the final point I want to insist on, laughter can do wonders for all of us dealing with stress. There are quite a few people during the lockdown, they have been watching comedies. Vadivelu comedy or various other comedians, or they are watching movies. They laugh and get rid of stress. There are many memes even about politicians, okay, or other people. So all these can create laughter. Laughter can create some hormones. It increases happiness hormone, okay, and we feel that we are reducing our stress. Okay, so I think I'll finish here. If you have any questions, I will ask the moderator to answer, ask me or anybody to answer any question. Hello?
Yes.
Any question? We have a few minutes left.
Now it's time for the participants to clarify their doubts. They can unmute and ask questions to the father. Participants, you can.
No doubt, sir. Everything is clear.
Okay.
Father, there is a question from the YouTube.
Okay. Can you?
So yes, I'll be telling. So Sonna Mehra Anbumani. So their question is, sir, I have a question about this pandemic and unemployment situation. How can manage this stress and how our perception should be to manage this?
Okay. The pandemic has created stress. True. Lockdown has created stress. But how do I perceive it? Can I change the situation outside? Can I put an end to the pandemic? Can I protect myself? How do I manage without a job and unemployment? Okay. So if I can manage within my sources available until the lockdown is over, okay, then I have to do something so that I am okay. I am not affected too much by depression or hopelessness. Okay. If your strategies are ineffective, try to reflect on your strategies and change them. Okay. So what you can change right now is not the external environment, but you can think about changing your internal environment. Can you reduce your depression? Can you reduce your hopelessness or helplessness and depression? Okay. Think of something positive. Okay, I will manage. You can develop a sense of hope. Things will become better. I will get a job. You can do all the efforts. You can take methods, means to achieve a job. But at the same time, you can say, right now, only these things will work. I cannot go for a work. So in the meantime, how do I manage during this pandemic? Okay. So internally, we can change. External, we cannot change. If you cannot change, then don't develop more stress. Many people go through fear, anxiety during this time, pandemic. Can you reduce your fear, anxiety, and so on and so forth? Emotional management, emotional intelligence will help you to reduce your stress because of fear and anxiety.
Father, and another question from Munira. How can we manage the stress of small kids during this pandemic?
Engage them with affection. They feel bored. They don't know what to do. Okay, as adults also are bored, but we have our own techniques to manage. We have a lot of imaginations. We do things in our mind. We use the laptop or a mobile. We do many things to distract ourselves, but even adults go through tension. With the kids, you have to be creative. You have to be proactive. Engage them with something, a game, okay, some learning, not too much of teaching, but play learning. Okay, give them some activity. Ask them to read. Ask them to draw something. Have some competition among the children at home. There are a few children. So engage them first, give them a lot of affection, talk to them, read some stories, okay? Educate them in something that they are going to learn later, okay? Or, tell a story. Even if they are watching a movie, ask them to narrate the story later. Okay, so if you engage them with affection, you can manage them.
Next question, Father. How that stress can be reduced due to the wrong behavior of other person?
If you can change the other person's behavior, you take the right step and then appropriate action so that that person changes. his or her behavior. If not, okay, if you cannot change, who can help that person change the behavior? Come roundabout, okay? Or can you manage even though that person doesn't change? Reduce your level of distress by managing your mind, your emotions, your reactions to that person's negative behavior. That way you can do. You cannot change the whole world. You cannot change other people. Sometimes even we cannot change ourselves, but we can change the internal, the context in our mind and reduce some stress by various techniques that we thought of. Okay.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Participants, any doubt?
We have to be very creative in coming up with various techniques. Okay. Psychological techniques, physiological techniques like exercise, yoga, and so on and so forth. Also sociological, good contact with people, online contact if you cannot contact in person. Spirituality, mindfulness, all these will help you to reduce stress. But you have to keep on learning because there are more and more stresses every day. Sometimes we get new stresses. When there is a new stress, will our old strategies work? If they don't work, we have to create new strategies for dealing with stress management. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Now we came to the end of the session. Thank you, Father. You enriched our minds with a desire, instilling curiosity through your information-packed lectures and discussions. Thank you so much, Father. The smallest act of kindness is worth more than the grandest intention. I call Dr. Sister Arockiam Mary, Assistant Professor of English and IQAC Secretary, to propose the vote of thanks. Sister, please.
Thank you, Rubina ma'am. Am I audible? Rubina ma'am, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, sister, you are audible.
Good afternoon to everyone present for the webinar. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make your path straight. At the outset, united with the psalmist, I would like to thank the Almighty God for his constant presence, support, guidance, and protection towards his humanity, and very especially towards each one of us, making this webinar a grand success. On behalf of the management, staff, and students of Stella Matutina College of Education and the participants of the webinar, I deem it an immense pleasure to thank and acknowledge Reverend Dr. Emmanuel Arockiam, SJ, Director, Jesuit Center for Counseling and Department of Counseling Psychology, St. Joseph College, Trichy. As the saying goes, a right person for the right job. Indeed, Reverend Father Emmanuel Arockiam has done justice to the topic. Stress management and mindfulness for students and teachers. While discussing on the topic, he highlighted the types of stress and its ill effects and the bad impacts on the professional impact it has on physiological, emotional, spiritual, social, and psychological well-being, as well as on the professional life and how to overcome and become aware of the stress and how to regulate and manage stress effectively by following various effective strategies, including SWOT analysis, and following emotional intelligence and meditations and various activities which could enable an individual to overcome stress. On behalf of the management, organizing secretaries, staff, participants, and the students community, I extend my gratitude for your effective and meaningful sharing of the knowledge on stress management and mindfulness for the students and teachers. Thank you, Father. The SMC will ever remain grateful to you for your knowledge shared on the topic. Thank you, Father.
Thank you. All the best.
Stella Matutina College of Education is known for its quality of education in forming would-be teachers and research scholars. The driving force behind the achievement is none other than Reverend Sister Pauline Mary, the Secretary of the College. Indeed, a human engineer who keeps constantly planning and encouraging the teaching faculty towards the transaction of quality of education and research. A motivating guidance enables both the teaching faculty and the students to be effective in the process of scholastic and post-scholastic activities. And today's webinar is one of its kind, which has resulted in imbibing knowledge on stress management and mindfulness. On behalf of the staff, students, and the participants, I extend my sincere thanks to you, Sister, for your inspiring presence among us. Thank you, Sister.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have with us Dr. Joseph Catherine, the principal and the convener of the webinar, a person of simplicity and approaching personality, ever keeps motivating the teaching faculty towards fulfilling the objectives of education. In spite of the lockdown due to COVID-19, she keeps planning diligently the academic programs, keeping in view the well-being of the students' community, as well as ensuring the students imbibe the required knowledge on the significant topics as the need of the hour. Thank you, ma'am, for being with us and gracing the webinar. Thank you, Catherine, ma'am. SMC is undeniably blessed with the two strong pillars of the institution, namely Sister Christina Mary and Mrs. Rubina, who contribute their share of knowledge in the process of teaching education psychology and the organizing secretaries of the webinar. They are living syllabus in every sense in promoting stress-free and amicable milieu for the students to have a real learning experience. I extend my sincere appreciation and gratitude towards Sister Christina Mary and Mrs. Rubina for having planned and organized the webinar with the relevant topic and having invited an eminent resource person to share his expertise with us. Thank you, Sister, and thank you, ma'am. I would like to thank Dr. Alma Juliet Pamela, the coordinator of IQAC, Stella Matutina College of Education, for her constant planning towards improving the quality of the institution. Thank you, ma'am. My sincere thanks to Dr. Josephine and Mrs. Sashikala, assistant professors, the members of the committee who, along with Sister Christina Mary and Rubina, have contributed their efforts towards the success of the webinar. Thank you, ma'am, for your constant help rendered. A special word of thanks to the staff, participants, and the students of SMCE for your enthusiastic participation in the webinar. We not only have the participants from India or different states of India, we also have, with us Reverend Father Peter taking part from Middle East. Thank you, Father, for your inspiring presence. Your participants, without your presence, the webinar would not have been a possible one. Thank you. Hope you relish the knowledge you have imbibed during the webinar. I would like to place on the record my honest gratitude towards Mr. Austin Glittis, founder of American Television, and its audience for their collaboration with Stella Matutina College of Education. Thank you once again. Good afternoon to all. Thank you. Over to Rubina, ma'am.
Thank you, sister. Thank you so much. I request the participants to fill the feedback link and you will be getting your certificate. Thank you all.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Thank you very
Have a
much,
good
Father.
time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.